Welcome to where the furniture isn't always the best, but them views, they are amazing.
And we're back here on the 13th floor where the furniture has been upgraded and the views are still amazing. I am your host, Coach K, and I got a full squad today. I got Faison, I got B Jones, I got
Yes, sir.
BJ, I got Fresh. Everybody's here. Fellas, how y'all feeling?
Live.
Fire.
Let's get it.
Fire.
Feeling good, man. It's Monday.
That's
Nice.
Monday. It's Monday. That's what's
It's
up.
Monday.
That's what's up. So we're gonna first, man, let me ask y'all, how was y'all weekend, man? Before I jump into, the official stuff.
Mine's was amazing. You know why? Because there's some partying happening in Philly right now. We are on fire right now, and it was really good. As far as me personally, I don't know what I did this weekend. It was fun. Nothing really crazy happened, but just seeing the Phillies hit that World Series mark, and then the Eagles having a relaxed bye week. I'm good. Real good.
How did that school project turn out?
Yo, so he did really good. He went up there, represented all of Georgia.
Which one of the he's?
Namdi.
There you go.
So Renze's was probably 2.5 weeks ago. He had a family tree breakdown. So he went up as far as the grandparents. We were going to go deep. There's a lot for him to grasp, but that inspired me to make an actual project to kind of get the tree going and kind of see that. So I might work on a digital tree and pass it along for him to know. So when we see family, he can go, oh, I know that face, that's so-and-so, and kind of keep it going, keep it alive. So cousins and second cousins that are close enough to get to. So it's cool. Really, really cool. A lot of work, but Namdi's a memorization king, so he can memorize anything in like a day. That would have took another kid like 2 weeks to do. This guy reads to me, Daddy. Read it. He said, all right, thanks. Can I go play a Switch now? And I was like, but you don't have it. He goes, I got it. And I was like, cool. All right.
Wow.
My man.
Yeah, man.
That's,
The guy is
that's really cool. And I think it's an interesting point that you just made, because I don't know how many people actually still try to do family trees. It feels like it's, something of the past, or the modern day version is, whoever in your family took 23andMe or
That's what I was about to say.
Ancestry.com.
That's exactly how people are doing it nowadays, is that they
Really?
just went to, oh, I can just go ahead and give you all my information to take over my life. Here you go.
Let's take it from there, because I've been on this for like the last 2 weeks. It's been on my mind, so I probably gonna make my decision after this conversation right now.
Yep.
Like I'm leaning on just going to do the 23andMe. And the reason why I came back up again, a lot of conversation over the last few years about heritage and what does it mean to be, when you say where you from and you say I'm American, but what does that really mean? Living here in South Florida, a lot of thing is represent your heritage, right? But being a Black American, like I'm not about to put on something that's like America, right? At this point in time, like, and I'm not certain, I can't say African attire, like what does that really mean? Because every region has a different design, different style, different thing like that. So I'm leaning there more there just for a personal, almost fulfillment of like where to go from here. Sparked the conversation initially was I was having a church member of mine. There's an anniversary coming up, and our church is international. It's like represent your heritage day. And I was trying to explain, and he's from Cuban background. I was explaining to him, like, it's hard for me on these days to do this. And that's why I normally don't participate, because I'm there, but I'm not dressed up or anything. Because like most Black Americans can't, unless they do a test, they can't trace back what is my heritage? What country should I represent?
yeah.
Do I really want to say I'm representing the United States with all the transgressions stuff against Black people in general? Like, I live here, I'm happy for the freedom I have, but that's not my heritage, right? And when I did my Ancestry.com, I can only go back so far. And what I can go back to was on my maternal, I'm saying it wrong, my maternal grandmother, her great uncles listed as property on the census back in the day, because as Black, you can only be listed, you couldn't be listed independently. So they're listed as property under the houses they served in.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's as far back as I can go. And everybody else is in South Carolina, my dad's side of the family, whatever. So like I've gotten back to no country of origin. So I'm wanting to do 23andMe, like to start a new journey personally of like, what does that mean? And setting a goal in next 3 to 4 years. I want to go back to wherever that place is and start digging up more history. Like, where are you guys at with any of that stuff? Do these conversations come up in your circles anymore around events, things that go on? Does anybody else even worry about this stuff?
I do.
What?
Go ahead, bro. No, go ahead, man.
Well, I know I did my African ancestry, so like I know where both sides go all the way back to Ghana on my dad's side and Mali on my mother's side. And it does give you a sense of pride and heritage, and they give you so much information that you can look into and like come up on your history. So like that's why Sonny's name is what it is, because of that heritage and knowing that we go all the way back to the Malian Empire and where they sparked. So Sundiata being influential and you know building that empire.
That's where you guys pulled the name from then.
Yeah, that's where it came from. So Sundiata, he preceded Mansa Musa and creating the Malian Empire. I think it's very important. I don't know how far back 23andMe goes, but I think, Carol, you did 23andMe, didn't you?
Yeah,
I did. I did 23andMe. You know, their data is the data pools are what's important, right? And that's why for 23andMe, you can get 23andMe on special for $79, $99. For which one did you do? Ancestry. Which one did you do, bro?
Oh, African ancestry. Oh, you
African ancestry is like what, $600?
A little less than that. I want to say it was like maybe 350, 400, something like that.
I think it's 400, right? I think it's 400.
So African ancestry seems to be the one that gives you the more personalized, specific data.
Because they have a larger data pool for African American or Black people.
got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I did mine with 23andMe, and I pulled West African, specifically Nigerian, in my data pool. I'm sure if I go back in there now, I did it what 4 years ago. So I'm sure now there's more and more like more lines connecting to it. It was pretty sparse at that time when I did it. It hasn't increased. Okay,
it's still sparse. Every once in a while, like it'll become a little bit more defined as far as your percentage, but it's still pretty sparse. And if you don't, there's an app. If you just put in your data on your login from the app, like you'll see the updates when they come out.
Okay, cool. So yes, that's what I did, and I saw that. So, but I also have like I got the ability and the advantage, I should say, that the boys can actually go back and see where like their lines literally started from. They can see where on the maternal side. On the maternal side can go back. So like when we go to Nigeria in December, they can go back and see land, see where grandpa, great was there from, and then like everything started. So they're gonna have that pride and knowing that in their heritage, they had that connection. They know where they're from. I know my background, I know where I'm from.
But that information comes from EJ's side, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it all traced through the maternal lineage.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I'm capturing that right when you're talking.
But on my side, my I said it before, I think a while ago, my grandmother does not speak past her mom. Like she just won't talk about it. Like try it. She's like, nope, doesn't. No. And my grandfather will talk about it up to his. He actually showed me a picture of his dad. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like his dad's dad. So I got to see that when I was down there recently in Philly. But as they get older, I'm like, hey, I know you don't want to say anything, but I need you to share some information. I need you to just, I don't know. I don't care what happened in the past. I don't care when you left, North Carolina, whatever it may be. I need to know, like, I need to know the stuff so I can pass it on. Like, if you don't want to tell anybody, tell me and I'll pass it down. but don't just hold it because you're just turned 87. It's about time for you to let that skeleton go, and whatever it may be. So
let's go back to the infrastructure thing. We were getting at the infrastructure of information, right?
Yeah.
Of where all these things come from. Like, again, I'm sitting here thinking about it, like, I'm just anticipating like getting that result back and open it up and be like, wow, and being able to say, this is me.
Right, dude.
Like, I'm sitting here right now, like thinking about that moment. It's like, how emotional is that you can finally say, here, like, I don't know what that means. Like, I can't even think about what that be until I get it. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and pull that trigger.
Yeah, man, definitely do it. It feels good to at least have that information there, even if it's still growing and collecting data. It's still good to have it, and you have kind of some source for it. But before I forget to share this, my grandfather told me or showed me his grandfather is 50% Indian, like Cherokee Indian. Would never have known that. Never was shared in the family, but it makes sense because those who met my grandfather, his eyes are turning like blue-gray. As years have progressed, he turned that blue-gray. It's not cataract or anything. Like, actually, I remember as a kid, his eyes being like a blue-gray. My mom's now is hitting that color. So it might skip me and go to Nnamdi Arinze, but I'm like, oh, this makes sense why, like, it's kind of there. I've seen it. So you never know what's back there. If you haven't talked to your greats, or if they're still around, like, talk to them, because there's history in there that didn't get passed through to your mom. And that you know, like, my mom was like, how old is my mom? She won't tell me. Or when they get married, she won't tell me, like, these information. But I called and said, when did you get married? How old were you? She said, oh, I was 16, like, with no problem, but didn't share that information with her daughters because maybe the rush of having kids too early. She didn't want her kids to go through that process. I don't know, but she feels more open now in her older age to just dump data. So I'm gonna keep prodding to get more information out of it. So if you haven't done so, anybody listening, like, go out there and just bubble up and just ask questions. Like, worst you can get is a no, and you just ask them again in 2 weeks because they'll forget you said it. So keep prodding.
And BJ, that sense of pride, like, that's huge, and it's something that you'll be able to pass on to your kids. But that's what we talk about, building. Like, we talked about building that infrastructure, that sense of heritage, and not just heritage that begins, with coming to America and, slavery or the civil rights movement or Black Renaissance. It completely transcends it. And then there's so much history within, those African countries that we're not privy to, that is a lot more, in my sense, engaging, because I have a direct connection to it, and not so much the American history where you still have that direct connection, but I don't know. I guess it's like the way that it's formatted or the way that it's given to us. It's all about perspective.
Correct.
And the perspective that is given is not necessarily the truest or most enlightened perspective. So yeah, definitely, man. I encourage everyone at some point in their lives to go out and take that journey down the path of your true heritage, and take all of the benefits that come with it.
Brett, so did you pay for both sides of your family?
We got the bundle. Chris bought the bundle, so the paternal, and then she bought the paternal and maternal, and I bought whichever one that she didn't have in the bunch. So yeah.
Wait, you just confused me. You said she bought paternal and maternal?
Yeah, because I think one of her other sisters did one of the sides. I think the maternal, one of her other sisters did the maternal side, so she only needed the paternal one. So I used the maternal one, and then I bought the paternal, and that's what it was. And so once one person in your family does it, you typically don't have to, other people don't have to do it, but only the male can do the paternal side.
Really?
Right.
So
yes.
I have a question. I'm totally confused now. So Chris did herself, right?
No, she got the bundle to give. She got it to give to her dad so he could do himself.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think that ever happened, but that's beside the point.
Okay, and then I got
the maternal out of that bundle, and did myself for the maternal, and then did myself again for the paternal when I bought it.
Okay.
All right. I think I got it. Fresh, you what about the Adams family? You how far do you know?
I mean, I know some tidbits here and there. Definitely nothing extremely deep. I definitely know we got some Indian somewhere back in my mom's side. Definitely something I'm interested in, but it's just been getting the time and opportunity to go ahead and dive deeper. We don't
Yeah.
have a lot of especially we were such nomads. I don't have a lot of close extended family that, like, you know what I mean? I'm not hanging around many people or got, you know what I mean, calling people and doing all of that kind of stuff. I got reconnected with a lot, especially my cousin Vicky's funeral, who got murdered by the guy in Kroger, and then my mom's funeral, got definitely gave me the opportunity to reconnect with a lot of that side of the family. But definitely due to again being a nomad, we're not as close as if we all lived in the same area.
Yeah, and I think that's a
point of clarification. I'm sorry. I'm processing, right? I gotta speak it out loud, do it. So essentially, I would need to do the maternal and paternal, but have my mother also do the paternal to get my grandfather's side.
No.
To get
only a male.
To get my maternal grandfather's side.
Paternal.
If your mother did it, it would probably go back deeper, but I think it's the mitochondrial DNA from the female, it passes through. So everybody gets that. The mitochondrial DNA from the male, I think, stays with the male. I think that's the trick why only the males can go on the paternal side, but the females can do either or.
So
males can do females can't do the females can't do the paternal side, but the males can do either or because you get both pieces of the DNA.
Okay, so since my mother's the only child, I really don't have a way to do her paternal side then.
No, you got it in you already.
Her, but when I do the paternal, would that be my father's side though?
That would be your father. So the paternal side for your mother stopped with her dad because he didn't have a son.
Yeah, so that's that. I can't get that side is what I'm saying. And that's the other side that I'm very interested because that's the side that came back down. The history I do know came outside the backside. Free slaves to Canada came down the backside and was part of the Black Cowboys. That's the part I don't go back too far on. That's about as far as I can go back. Like literally in the Black Cowboy movement, and if you want to call it movement, I guess, that time period, but that's as far as we can go back. But because he didn't have a son, I can't go back further on that side is what I'm getting from this conversation, correct?
I think. I ain't a DNAologist, but I think that's how it works.
That's a new job out there.
DNAologist. I'm pretty sure there's a anyway.
I'm pretty sure it is too, but we'll let the wordsmith handle that.
But right. But that it sounded good.
I was never into DNA, mitochondria. That wasn't my thing, but I okay, it's making sense now.
Yeah. I'm thinking now, like, man, I gotta get my grandfather to do something now. Because my mom, he had all girls.
You want to do something before he passed away. So that's why it's important for us to have these conversations, get this information now, and before we start losing folks again.
Was it spit or is it like a whole swab? Was he ain't doing that swab thing? I can already tell that.
It was spit.
It's in your it's a swab of your cheek.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm interested though if there's a religious component there as to why he wouldn't do it. Or
no, he would do it. I just gotta ask him.
Okay.
He's not thinking about that at all. So I just gotta ask him.
And is at home, so there's nobody for him to fight.
Right, exactly. I just go and go, hey, open mouth. Thanks. Walk away.
Oh, hilarious. So speaking of history, and I don't want to stay on the history piece too long, but last week we left off and the people said that, hey, you guys left off on a really great part that we wanted to hear. How do we keep a baseline? Brett, this is what you were saying. You were saying that we need to establish a baseline or a foundational point of our history that would always be covered. How do we get to a point where we can build that into infrastructure?
So I think it's happening small scale. I think the last time I saw something that might have come to the curriculum of what I would look to like create was it's a master class. I saw a commercial for it on like Facebook and Instagram, and I've seen it in passing. I think Cornell West is one of the individuals speaking on it, but they put together a curriculum of history. But it doesn't, it's American history, but it's Black folks' American history. So you kind of have, I guess, more to go off of than how these books have been rewritten to tell a certain story or get across a certain narrative. But I really think it starts a lot with having these conversations and us in the homes, because I came into a lot of that information on my own. So I had to spend that time and reading different books from Dr. King's series to about Medgar Evers and Carter G. Woodson. There's one more, the Jamaican fellow, Marcus Garvey, all of those books to kind of get a baseline or an understanding, because a lot of this stuff it happens on a timeline, but some of this stuff is all together. So then you got your W.B. Du Bois, your Frederick Douglasses, all of those individuals. But there has to be like a real push for an educational body to put together this curriculum and really market and advertise it to African American homes or people in general, because I feel like white folks can benefit from this from learning this history too. I think that has to happen, but it's very difficult. I think BJ being the educator and working in the administration can kind of speak to some of the difficulty you would have with like trying to push this in the mainstream school system when it comes to approved curriculum. So like it's always going to be a supplementary situation. And so if the leaders of the household, the leaders of the tribe, the leaders of the community don't band together to ensure that this curriculum is spread, whether it's amongst the Boys and Girls Clubs or, you know, your after school clubs or YMCAs or your local churches, if those individuals don't come together to try to spread it to the masses or as many as we can, it makes it a lot more difficult.
Well, I think you started off saying, right, it has to be that grassroots effort to initialize it, right? Because you're talking about the collectiveness of everything, like getting all the information and writing the narrative and telling the stories and doing that. That has to be the base, right? And again, it has to be fact-based. It can be proven. You can't, like, it holds watertight. Like, nobody can punch holes in it. Like, that's the thing, because everybody today they want to punch holes in everything that's brought to light. And my basic thing is that we're living in the information age. We've been in the information age for years now. The thing is, more information is being made available. So when previous things were released,
well, not to cut you off, even with the poking holes piece, because a lot of nothing's perfect. Nobody in history is perfect. So you for people to like poke holes, like there's a lot of holes that could be poked in Marcus Garvey and the way that he tried to unify, you know, the African American diaspora and push everyone back to Africa. There's a lot of holes that can probably be poked in W.B. Du Bois' approach or Carter G. Woodson's approach. I think the problem with allowing that to happen is you can't necessarily focus only on that or let the focus be on that, you have to take it in stride, but understand what was the goal, what was the purpose of all of this, not necessarily why it didn't work. Okay, let's look at what did work and all of that, and teach that and understand why these things didn't work or what the pitfalls of certain individuals were, so we can be better going forward.
Definitely, it's the story behind the story, like the why and the repercussions of everything that went on. So you're absolutely right. Total agreement. I think moving forward with the way the climate is, that we mentioned about current school curriculum and putting out to the mainstream, right? The biggest issue now is people's political agendas. And I mean, I can talk Florida because it's the most native to me, again, being here, working here, whatever. We have a real opportunity in the next year or so to make some changes happen, because the new social studies curriculum to be taught across the state of Florida, K-12, is about to be adopted. Like, they're about to go into selecting which curriculum sources they're going to use. The problem is, though, it's become a political hotbed and people don't want to touch it. And again, it's not about whitewashing this or for like making it all black this. It's like, what's the truth we want to tell about the history? Now that we have more information, we need to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Yeah. So help me God. Like, I think now that line means more today than it did when it was written, right? So when we think about what's coming down the pipe, now when people are about to go to the poll, this will be released October 31st. You have a week in Florida before we elect a new governor. Either elect or re-elect, whichever the chips may fall, right? So in this state, some of the things that have been happening in the past 4 years now are in direct correlation to person's political agenda and the loud minority of the state that have pushed things through. Because lack of understanding, lack of knowledge, lack of infrastructure across the board. It's not just about voting. It is about voting, but that's not the only thing. It's about, what are you voting for? What are all the things that can happen depending on who is in office? And what are the things you're not going to be able to do because of who is in office, right? So by not voting, you're casting a vote. By exercising your right to vote, you're actually making your voice heard and what's the goal. Don't want to get on voting right now. That's a whole nother, we could spend a whole topic, a whole show on just voting myself. But in essence, what can we do? Like, parents need to understand who are the decision makers at the district and at the state level when it comes to children's curriculum, right? Like, anything can be published out there for adults to read. Like, I take the pressure off of that. Like, adults just need to be aware of, you need to get up and stop being lazy and go read and educate yourself. We're talking about what we allow in schools. It really is, who do you want to make the decisions about what's going to be allowed? The state of Florida, you need to be vocal at your PTA meetings, at the local district meeting, board education meetings, move to state board meetings. These are all public events where you can go voice opinions and have time on the floor. The conversation needs to start happening now, because when they opened up the term to review the curriculum, I need people saying, no, this is not right. This doesn't paint the full picture. We need to negate this. We need to not allow this. Or what's going to happen is the same old history that we were taught. George Washington was a great guy. Thomas Jefferson was a great guy. It's going to be the same things recycled over and over again. Add a little bit of spices to it to say Latinist and black this, that, to spice it up a little bit. It's still going to be, well, what I'm trying to say, no flavor. There's not enough flavor in it to make it palatable for everybody.
And do we add more that, no, go ahead. Sorry, guys. I wanted to say, do we, for lack thereof of the information, do we add more of that at home? Because now it seems like there's more books and more information or more things that are telling a whole story that kind of fill in those missing gaps. That, hey, you may not hear this. You may be reading about George Washington. Cool. Let me show you more about that, what that time frame is. Kind of like Jesus when he that years in between when he grew up, like that. And like, there's years missing. Let's just fill in those years with information. But now we're digging and digging and digging, and they're finding more and more things. And a lot of the books that were read that were, just the Mark Garvey's books that are out there but never pushed to schools are like now more available and more we are doing a better job as a generation to say, hey, no, add this to your reading library. So
But you only got that if you pursued, like, okay, what did we do at UM? What minor did we have to go after to get access to a lot of that stuff?
At the time, it was Caribbean and African American studies, and now it's Africana studies. But yeah, right. Everybody had that minor. Like we all had classes together at some point because of that.
But when you say, "Oh," you talk about the Black population. It wasn't the norm for a normal student to get that, right? You had to pursue it. So, like you said, parents have to arm themselves, communities have to arm themselves with information and start, like Brett was saying, I think it was Brett, the Boys and Girls Club, churches, the corner store, libraries in your neighborhood. Like, these are all the places that have to go back to. This has to be the purveyors of information for their communities. That has to be the grassroots effort. There has to be that push. We need to be sitting outside in the corners in the summertime and telling stories like this. Like, not because we're just passing down stories because we lived it. We're passing down stories because this is our heritage that we read in the book and we're sharing. I mean, I just sit back. People sitting around playing dominoes in the park. Like, why aren't we telling stories about what happened with this? Older generation. Half of them, they probably don't even know themselves because the information wasn't readily available when they were learning.
Yeah.
So it has to be that part.
That's where I feel like we have to take the responsibility back for the education of that and not rely on systems for it. Mm-hmm. And if for those of you that are old enough, you can remember everybody had a series of encyclopedias in their house back in the day.
Yep.
Right. And you wonder why we did and how did we get these encyclopedias? Right. And I remember my grandmother used to make me sit there and read. I had to read the different volumes and then come tell her what it was about.
Yep.
Right. And I'm thinking about, look at it now where knowledge has been suppressed. Not only do you not have encyclopedias in most homes anymore, you don't have the local mom and pop bookshop that would specialize to your community, right? Those are all pretty much closed down and gone. Yeah. So now what? How many kids actually have a membership to the library? Which, not to say that what we're looking for might be there, but I think of things like, okay, who can create, the new encyclopedia, right? That has our information. There is a group that I know of. They're on Instagram. It's called Voices of the Ancestors. And they actually have a website. It's voicesoftheancestors.net. And they have books and series that really just talk about our history. And they have videos of people, that have done the research and the knowledge that verbally talk about it. So I'm seriously considering investing in that just to see what it's like. But imagine you get that and you become the person in your community, in your neighborhood, that the kids come over and want to watch something, right? Or you even tell them about what you watched or what you read this week, and they're hearing it. At least it's planting the seeds, because I think from generation to generation, we have to do that to maintain, because not only are we giving our historical account, but it's also giving them the opportunity for in their generation to connect some other dots. Because I feel like there's dots that are being connected all the time that are closing the gaps and bringing forth new information for us.
That's Tulsa. That's Juneteenth. That's over the last, 5-6 years? That's exactly what has happened.
That's exactly what's happening. How many places have you heard of that have Black communities that existed that no longer exist, and something else totally different exists there now?
Yeah.
Right. Like Art, I don't know if you heard about it, but for us, what'd you say?
The lake over here?
Yeah, Lake Lanier. That was actually a Black community, and they got rid of it and then opened up whatever waterways to make it a lake.
To flood it and make it a lake. To get rid of it.
Flood it and make it a lake, which is just crazy. I mean, of course, we've heard of places like Rosewood and Black Wall Street and all these places, but there's so many more areas that existed that we don't even know about.
Literally wiped off the map.
Yeah.
Literally. And now that we have, again, that stuff was suppressed for so long. It's like people don't even believe it now you bring it up. It's like, well, wait, where's that written at? Like, it was purposely not written about.
Yeah.
to suppress it, right?
Yeah.
That's the stuff we're talking about. So these are the accounts that we have to build the infrastructure. We have to have the ambassadors, if you will, in the communities that are willing to share what you know. Like, you go back to say, each one teach one. Right?
Yeah.
We got to go back to that mentality. And again, it's not just about preserving Black. This is history. This is history of things that happen in America. I can't say American history, but it's a parallel timeline, right?
Mm-hmm.
They happen alongside of these things, but there's so much more to happen. Like, again, I haven't seen it yet. I've heard great things about it, but next weekend when Till comes out, the whole family is going to go see it.
Yeah. Oh, and and just a point of information, they said that the Till movie will not have any violence in it.
Correct.
They're like, we've seen enough violence. You're going to see the story of it.
It's more information.
Yeah.
Like, that should just be the start of conversation, the start of more digging and digging and digging. Because this is just the public one that everybody knows about. How many other Emmett Tills were there out there that this stuff happened to? And it got swept under the rug.
Central Park was also destroyed based upon the Black community that was destroyed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. And the history, there's a lot of people out there that will say, well, what's the point of looking back? Let's just keep moving forward. But again, going back to what we started out talking about with knowing your ancestry.
I can't go forward. Wow. No, I can't go forward. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in, but I can't go forward wholeheartedly without knowing where I came from. That's the point. Like, I can't sit here and say, I'm proud of my heritage. What heritage?
Right.
I'm celebrating the fact that I know my ancestors were slaves. No, they were kings and queens before they were slaves, damn it.
Right.
That's what I want to celebrate. I don't know that information. How do I get there? Like, that's what my next mission is. That's what it has to be.
Oscarville is the name of the city under Lake Kinnear. Oscarville.
Crazy. BJ, I think you're 100% correct. There is a sense of not just you can't move forward, but when you have no prior identity, it's very hard to celebrate how far you've come or to know what you're actually capable of. And I think that's probably the bigger thing, is knowing what you're capable of.
Pretty much.
Yep.
We were this, and you're telling me we're this. Sorry, I'm off camera. We were this. Like, nah, I'm going for here, baby. You can't stop me. I already know what I come for. Like that, and that stripping identity. We go back to how did the slave mentality get embedded in culture? Strip of identity, strip of language, strip of everything else that could trace back to what you were, to this is what you are. This is what I'm making you.
And it goes back to a couple podcast episodes ago. You can't reach your next level until you have healed, right? And knowing that is part of the healing process. It's like somebody getting into an accident and having amnesia, not knowing who they were, what their skills were, what they could do, what their faith was, what their original language was, and they start over from scratch. That person is always going to feel like they have a gap.
It's embedded trauma.
Yep. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed this conversation. We are going to pick up from this spot next week, or I'm sorry, we are coming out every other week now.
Yep.
So this episode is actually out on November 7th, not on Halloween, as we dropped an episode today earlier. Sorry, by the time hopefully y'all listened to the episode before this, and you'll understand what I'm saying. But yes, we have moved to bi-weekly for now, and hopefully you are tuning in between. So the former segments that you know as Freshivation, Arts Corner, Coach K's Closing, we're now releasing those as shorts on our YouTube channel. So definitely go check that out to get those things throughout the week that will keep you going. And that's all we got for now. We will see you next episode.
That's it for now, folks.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. We're done here on the 13th floor where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are
Amazing.